I guess the impossible can be achieved. You know, a lot of people say that, a lot of people say that when it comes to certain sporting events or tournaments, that the lowest seed in that tournament will never get past the first round. And that if they do, it's by some fluke or some miracle. Basically, the lowest seeded individual or team is the ultimate underdog. And if they achieve and succeed, they start being deemed as the ultimate Cinderella. Case in point, you see the title above or below, depending on how you watch this. History was made yesterday. History was made when the overall number 1 seed, the Virginia Cavaliers, lost by 20 to number 16 UMBC, University of Maryland, Baltimore County. Yep. And not only did they lose, but like I say, they lost by 20. Now, some people might say, how can that be? Some might speculate that the players on there are maybe a lot older than they seem, and they might even be professional players from out of country or within region. And you can be justified in how you believe this occurred, but truth of the matter is, for a sec. There we go. Just had to line the mic up a little bit, but truth of the matter is, depending on how you're justified and how you see it happen, and what your opinion on how it happened, the realization is it happened, and history was made. Now, it's not the first time that a number 16 team has defeated a number 1 team in the NCAA basketball tournament. Several years ago, Stanford, on the women's side of things, was upset. They were upset in the tournament as well. In fact, let me look up the information. I can make sure I get it right. Because everybody's still talking about it. Let me see if I can find it. Yeah. Actually, damn, it's been about 20 years. 20 years since a number 16 team defeated a number 1 team in a basketball tournament. But yeah, 20 years ago, number 16 Harvard, who was a little bit more well-renowned than University of Maryland, Baltimore County, UMBC. Harvard, number 16 in the women's bracket in 1998, defeated number 1 Stanford. So even on the women's side 20 years ago, it showed that the impossible can be achieved. That a number 16 team can indeed beat a number 1 team, whether or not they're the overall number 1 team. I can't remember if Stanford, they say Stanford was top seeded, but they weren't, but it doesn't say whether or not Stanford was the overall top seed. But the point being, hold on for a sec. But the point being that even 20 years ago, on the women's side of things, it was proven that it could happen. However, even 20 years ago, up to 20 years later, the men have proven that it shall not pass, it shall not be, that it will never occur. But you know what's funny is over the past several years, when this tournament would start, when March Madness would begin, and I would try to keep tabs as best I can on the tournament. And I would see the scores, as they're happening in game live, or even see the final scores. I would notice, and even through the highlights and the box scores and all that, I would notice how close the game was contested. I would notice sometimes I'd be watching the game, and that number 16 seeded team on that number 16 seeded school would start to pull away a little bit with a lead. And you would think, oh my gosh, the impossible is going to happen. But in the long run, it doesn't. In the long run, it doesn't. In fact, there's been more number 15 upsets over number 2 seeds, or number 15 seeds upsetting number 2 seeds in the past 20-something years, if not more so, than number 16 over number 1. But yet, the impossible happened. The impossible happened, and so far, I'm going to say this, 2018, if I don't look at it from a personal standpoint, 2018 so far has been kind of historic. I'm not lying about that. It's been kind of historic. Philadelphia, for example, in the NFL, the Philadelphia Eagles become the Super Bowl champions for the first time in their career, not their careers, but in the first time of the franchise. Even though they've been to the Super Bowl several times before, they've never won it until this year. In fact, it's the first championship they've had, a world championship they've had since, the early days of just the plain old NFL championship. No disrespect on that as well. It's been historic. It's been really historic. You take a look at the Oscars, and a movie like Shape of Water won Best Picture. It shows that movies that are kind of like WTF or Incredibly Strange or like I never thought they'd do a movie based around that or something can succeed. Heck, it's historic if you look at WWE. They signed Ronda Rousey. They finally got her. She's at WrestleMania. And it's historic because just like 4 years ago, the fans let their voices be heard, and the fans' response to a match confirmation for Mania this past week, the fans' reaction to that confirmation was overwhelming so much that the main sponsor of WrestleMania itself said, no, we don't like what we're hearing here. We don't like what we've heard about this. They basically almost wanted to wash their hands of it, and WWE decided, nope, we don't want to lose the sponsorship. So they decided, hey, let's rename it just the WrestleMania Women's Battle Royal. The point I'm getting at is it's been, even though we are about almost 4 months in now, we're about 3.5 months in, it has been very historic. Or 2.5 months in, it has been very historic. And that's saying a lot. I mean, heck, from an employment standpoint, for me, working at Walmart, it's kind of historic because we usually have to wait every other quarter to possibly get a bonus on our check because of credit card sales or applications done, made and all that. But it's kind of historic for us because we ended up getting a one-time payment, which really helped out in the end, even up till now. The point that I'm getting at is this. So far, 2018 has been proven that history can and will be made when we least expect it. And this right here, with UMBC, Maryland, the University of Maryland, Baltimore County, upsetting the overall number 1 seed in Virginia, and we're talking the overall number 1 seed, higher than the other number 1 seeds around them, like Kansas and Villanova, and who else? Oh, sorry, I can't go here. Who else? Xavier. Xavier, they were. The thing is, Virginia was ranked higher than the other number one seeds. That being, like I said, Kansas, Villanova, and Xavier. So you're telling me the overall number one seed, which a lot of people project would be the one, always at the beginning of the tournament, to be the one that's going to join the other number one seeds in the Final Four, because let's be honest, that's what the tournament is about. Is really about for a lot of the people in the NCAA offices when they put these brackets together. The ultimate goal is to get number one against number one. Well, when you rank a team higher than the other number ones and you say they are the overall number one team, they are going to be the ones that run the court. They're going to be the home team, if you will, throughout. And they end up getting knocked off by a team that seemingly no one thought would ever probably beat someone like Virginia. That's saying something. That is saying something. I mean, they continuously are replaying it on CBS Sports Network as we speak. That's how historic it is. The fact is, your overall number one seed gets knocked out by 20 by a team that, let's be honest, when you hear some of these school names, the first reaction you get is, I've never really heard about them until now. And that's the truth. Some of these schools you don't really know about until now. Like UMBC, I've heard about them, but I didn't know they were from Baltimore County, Maryland, Baltimore County. You know, Radford, I think that's one of the school names. Let's see. Yeah, Radford, I've never heard of them. Long Island University, Brooklyn, I've kind of heard of them. But then you got Lipscomb, I've never heard of them. See, you get schools in these tournaments because they automatically in because of winning the conference that you've never heard of. But yet, they always seem to give these mid-major or major schools a run for the money. And sometimes it will surprise them. And that's what happened here. UMBC is not known any more than just a small-sized university that may be part of the NCAA Division I basketball and possibly part of Division I baseball, but is part of what? When it comes to football, if they have that, what? They're part of Division II, Division III, and they're mostly known, from what I read, for winning at chess. I mean, come on. That has to tell you something. The truth is, when you look at it now, and the reality that's hitting a lot of the Virginia fans and a lot of the UMBC fans, is it happened. The impossible occurred. And I think what happened is Virginia, being the overall number one seed, and they've had a history of being knocked out early in this tournament, got overconfident. They got overconfident. They overlooked UMBC. They didn't take them seriously. They overlooked them and thought, they're just a pushover. We'll beat them. They'll probably give us a little bit of a run for our money, but we'll beat them in the end. And you know what? I bet UMBC, the coach and the players, realized Virginia would probably think that way, and that's what motivated them. And maybe they did something that a lot of teams and schools should do. They studied film. They studied exactly where they have to be at certain times. And you know what? You can say what you want about the players, say maybe the professional players from other countries, stuff like that. You can say what you want. But at least they proved one thing. You can never underestimate the underdog, especially if they are the ultimate underdog. Because think about it this way. If Virginia was ranked or was seeded as the overall top seeded number one team in the tournament over the other number ones, Kansas, Xavier, and Villanova, then that made UMBC the ultimate number 16 seed. Yeah, you had first four matchups to bring in other number 16 seeds that you might think would be in that category. But nope, when you look at it, when a number 16 team, when a number 16 seeded team or school is put up against the overall number 1 team or school, they are looked at as the ultimate overall number 16 team that's going to get trounced. And that didn't happen here. That did not happen. What happened is the impossible occurred. Now, can UMBC continue this momentum against Kansas State on Sunday? Who knows? Can they make history by being the first number 1? Can they make history by being the first number 16 team to advance to the Sweet 16? We'll just have to wait and see. But yeah, history was made. And like I said, I think what occurred is UMBC noticed or took notice that I think Virginia was overconfident, overlooked them, and didn't take them seriously. And you know what? Virginia, that's on your end. Because now I think what this game did is it pretty much sent a message to a lot of people. Don't underestimate the underdog anymore. And here's the truth, like I think I mentioned earlier. Every year when the number 16 team would go against number 1 and the game was close even to the end, I always kept thinking it's inevitably going to happen, and guess what? It finally did. So, like I said, can UMBC continue this momentum on Sunday? Try to make more history? Or will it stop against Kansas State? We'll have to wait and see, but yeah, the impossible has occurred, folks. History has been made, and the number 1 seeds are no longer undefeated. They've gone from 135-0 to now 135-1. And you know what this does? This pretty much sends a message to other future number 16 teams or 16 seeded teams that if UMBC can do it, Maryland of Baltimore County can do it, anyone can do it. So that's all I'm going to say on it, folks. So let me know what you think, what your thoughts are down below. Congrats to the Retrievers of UMBC, and let's see if you guys can keep that momentum going for the rest of the tournament. God bless. Take care, folks. I'm out.